Hello guys, welcome back to the Kids World YouTube channel. Today I'll be talking about a very inspiring story called Artificial Intelligence, which you can also call AI. So let's get into the intro about it. Artificial intelligence used to be a science fiction, but now it's turning into reality. And under the umbrella of this, we have robots, computers, you have an Alexa device, the Google device, Siri on an iPhone, and Galaxy on a Samsung, and all that. That is all artificial intelligence. And speaking about robots are going to be replacing human beings in the next few years, which a lot of humans have started getting hatred on robots. But they are saving and cutting costs, which saves money for lots of people, and this is what people think are best, aside from other people who are starting to hate robots. And just like you see in Alexa and a Google and Siri, those are all AI tools. And these AI tools we can use in daily life. Like if you have an iPhone, you must ask Siri a question sometimes. Or if you have an Alexa device at your house, you ask her to play music or you ask her a question, she'll have it in just a few seconds, which would take a normal human being a little bit more time than usual. That is if they're new, but if they're experts, it makes a difference. So without further ado, let's get into the artificial intelligence story. After the ice capsules melted because of the greenhouse gases, things started to go downhill on Earth. Amsterdam, Venice, and New York, people were displaced there, and it was badly harmed there. They were no more. Because people were barely able to manage living in poor countries, those governments had to ban pregnancy. And childless couples thought it was outrageous. But it was what was best for them, because if they couldn't feed themselves, how would they be able to help feed an extra child or an extra person? Which was why robots would take over, because they never felt hungry. Less consuming on everything around the world. And to create an AI human has always been a dream of men since science arose, or should I say, the birth of science. With pain sensory and neurosequencing put into the robot, these original robots don't do as much as humans would, which is why the sensory toy must be updated to make it into a robot that could love, dream, and act just like a human being. The complicated question was, can you get a human to love a robot back? And as explained, Adam was made to love the God. And it wasn't a question that a robot loved. But another question was, if a child could genuinely love a person, what responsibility does that parent have in return? Moral question indeed. But as said, God made Adam love his child, and this question may never be answered. 20 months later, Monica and Henry were headed to the hospital where their son was there. Cybertronics was creating a new robot, a child robot that they proposed to make. and they were the first customers. Henry surprised Monica once they came back from there. And the scientists said that their son is above their science levels, that he has a unique condition they cannot find, so it might be the end of Martin. So Henry thought it would be best to bring a robot child, a substitute child. Monica could not accept. It was unacceptable that there was a substitute for your own child. Henry said he would return it to Cybertronics. But that's when Monica realized just outside he looks so real, but he's not. She thought to train David, the new robot, and Monica said, I'm not sending them back to Cybertronics, because if he was sent back, what would be the consequences? He would get crushed to pieces. They'd get rid of him. That's very absurd in Monica's opinion. So she trained the robot, and David learned a few more things from living in a house. He thought it was a very nice house, and he mesmerized the pictures of Monica, Henry, and their son when he was still there with them, a healthy child. He looked bad and felt bad for the childless couple. And David thought he could help them. Every day David would follow Monica around and try to help. And sometimes he went a little too far, especially when he went to the bathroom and opened the bathroom while Monica was in there. After a few days, they started training, and David got to know that Monica was his mommy. And Monica loved David. She started developing a love for David. But then another few days later, Martin arrives home because he was saved. Martin was very jealous of David because he knew that his mother loved David just like him. He tried to find every way to make Monica get rid of him. He even went too far. He made him eat spinach, and even though the teddy tried to warn him, David's teddy, before Monica went to the ball, she gave David a teddy, and the super toy teddy warned David that he would break. There was major consequences. But David did not listen. Monica got mad at Martin instead because she knew that David did not intentionally do it. It was because he was provoked. And it wasn't a good idea to provoke a robot. So when the people came to get all the spinach out of his so-called stomach, that's when Monica thought, okay, this is like getting out of control. We gotta find a way for them to get along with each other. That's when that night, Martin again came up with a plan to try to find a way for David to be ridden for good. He said, if you cut a little bit of mommy's hair, it'll make her love you even more. David, so naive, he said, okay, I'll do it. So in the night, he cut off Monica's hair. Henry was about to break him, but he just said, Martin said, if I do that, mommy would love me more. And Monica was like looking at him, poor David. She even got mad at Martin again. And she said, it's normal for brothers to fight, but the way Martin is taking it's too far during setting up their birthday party. When it was Martin's birthday, David made something for them, and Martin was seeming to get a little bit more along with David. But he was still kind of mad that Monica loved him as well. At first, Martin thought he was a doll, which was weird, and yeah, his friends teased David about like peeing, and he couldn't pee. And then one of his friends tried to cut him to see what he would do. David held tight on Martin, and they drowned into the pool. Henry and the other father saved Martin, but David was left in there. Monica, a few hours later, told that she was taking him on a trip. And David was excited and he said, "Can we bring Teddy?" And Monica was only trying to save David from going to Cybertronics because Monica knew the consequences, and Henry was demanding that we have to get rid of David. He's caused too much trouble. And Monica had pretended she was going to Cybertronics to return him. But she knew she could not send him back to Cybertronics. She was trying to protect David because she loved David a lot. When David was left in the forest, he started crying, which is impossible for a robot, but he was able to start crying. And he didn't like being in the woods alone. That's when a truck of robots came. And the truck of robots, there were other people. They were not safe because people were trying to get rid of robots. And there was a rodeo type of thing, never really mentioned what it was called, that was getting rid of robots, melting them, exploding them, doing everything they can to hurt it. It was very scary. When David got captured along with the other robots, he panicked. His body started shaking. That's when somebody examined him, saying, "He is one of a kind. We can't get rid of this robot. He is a one of a kind. Acts just like a human being." So when he was put up on the rodeo, about to be gotten rid of, people started saying, "He looks just like a real-life human boy. You can't get rid of him." And the person said, "Nah, who cares?" And then people started saying, "No, you have to set him free." And he was set free along with his other friend, and Teddy, obviously. They left to go to someplace. They went to Las Vegas to ask Dr. Nerd some questions. David gave his friend Joe some money, and Joe was just trying to help David, and he was able to be given 7 questions. David wanted to ask questions about the blue fairy from the Pinocchio story that Monica would always read Martin and him. It was very inspiring to him, and he said, "Maybe if I ask the blue fairy to make me a real-life boy, she would actually listen." So he asked his question, and his last question was the most important question to him. How does the blue fairy turn a robot into a real-life human boy? Very complicated answer. And Joe said, "It's not gonna work. Your mom will never love you." David was strong enough to fight back, saying, "My mom will always love me. She'll always tuck me in bed saying, 'I love you,' and she is the best mom I could ever ask for." So that's when Joe got captured, and not David, because the people thought he was a real-life human boy. So David got into a helicopter that was inside Las Vegas, and he started creating chaoticness inside the casino. He was able to save Joe, and they went to Cybertronics. That's when David met David. Another David. But the real David, the main character of the story, smashed him to pieces. And Professor Hobby came out, saying, "You are a real-life boy. You don't need to change." Professor Hobby had asked David to stay there so that they could do some inspections and all. But David knew that he would be broken to pieces, so he panicked. and jumped into the water on purpose. Joe saved him, but then the police helicopters came and took him away. David knew he would never be able to say hi again to him. His last words to him were goodbye. That's when David went inside the ocean. He found the blue fairy along with Teddy, and for 2,000 years he begged to the blue fairy statue, please make me a real life boy, please make me a real life boy, please make me a real life boy. And 2,000 years passed. He was transported back to his home, and he had no idea that long has passed. And he found the blue fairy in his house. She said, I cannot make you a real life boy, and your mother is no longer living. I cannot bring her back. David said, if you can bring it back other people, why can't you bring back her? The blue fairy said, you can only bring people back who have something left from them. David remembered, at least Teddy reminded him, that he had cut a little bit of his mom's hair. So David gave his mom's hair to the blue fairy. The blue fairy granted his wish. Then, while David was in his room, one of the blue fairy's assistants came in saying, you will be able to see your mother, but it will only last one day because you didn't cut that much of her hair. David said, I don't care. I just want to see my mom for the last time. And that's when he saw her in her room, sleeping. He said, would you like some coffee? Monica was happy. David had given her coffee. And they spent the whole day enjoying the very last day David would spend with his mom before she would go to sleep and never wake up. They drew paintings, they played hide and seek with the Teddy, and Monica had seemed to not remember anything about their bad experiences together. But David knew that Monica would always love her. And her last words to him were, I love you, David. David thought that if she was asleep, he could try to wake her up, but only to find that she would never wake up. So David went back to sleep with her, along with Teddy, and they lived in bed for eternity to come. This is a really good movie in general, and I highly recommend it for you to watch. And again, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to share this video with others and comment down below what story I should tell next. The moral of the story is love is eternal, no matter what. Love comes in all shapes and sizes, and it lasts forever. Peace out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.